If you ever want proof that teaching is full of surprises, let me tell you this story. I've been teaching Chinese for more than 10 years. Over that time, I've had all kinds of students. Business people flying to Beijing for contracts, kids who could barely hold a pencil, even retirees who wanted to keep their minds sharp. But one student turned everything I knew about teaching upside down. This happened a few years ago, and I still tell this story whenever someone asks me about my strangest class. It all started pretty normally. I got a message from a man maybe in his early 30s. He was polite, even a little shy. He wrote that he wanted to study Chinese from scratch and asked if I could fit him in that very week. That was unusual. Normally, new students ask a dozen questions about schedules, rates, teaching styles. But this guy? Straight to the point. I'm a complete beginner. Please help me, I agreed. Honestly, I was a little excited. Beginners are always a chance to start fresh, to watch someone go from knowing nothing to being able to say their first words. He arrived right on time. In his hands, a brand new notebook and pen. He sat neatly, greeted me in English, and said he was nervous. Don't worry, I smiled. I always start simple. I introduced myself in Chinese. Wo jiao Miss Lin. Ni jiao Shen Mi Mingzi. That's about as basic as it gets. My name is Ms. Lin. What's your name? He blinked. Then he said awkwardly, could you repeat that slowly? I repeated. He tried to mimic me. Wu jiao Miss Lin. Ni jiao Shen. Meh. I paused. Beginners often mess up tones, but something about the way he spoke felt off. Too controlled. Like someone acting like they didn't understand. We moved on to numbers. I said, San. He repeated, San? Again, not terrible, but weirdly artificial. Then he started writing, and that's when my stomach dropped. His characters weren't clumsy or childlike like most beginners. They were neat, balanced, almost professional. Maybe he was just good at copying strokes, I thought. Maybe he was an artist. But something didn't add up. As the lesson went on, I noticed more. He forgot words, but then corrected himself a second later, almost perfectly. His tones were too close to correct, like someone intentionally slipping up. When I explained sentence structures, he nodded too quickly, like he already knew them. It was as if he was pretending to be clumsy while his brain already knew the answers. Near the end of class, I gave him a simple exercise. What would you like to drink? Ni xiang he shen mei. He hesitated, eyes narrowing. Then, suddenly, in flawless Mandarin, he replied, Wo yao yi bei cafe, hiexi. Wo zhengzai kai wang xiao. I'd like a cup of coffee, thank you. I've been joking this whole time. Joe, my jaw almost hit the desk. His pronunciation was perfect. Better than some of my advanced students. You knew Chinese all along? I blurted out. He smiled sheepishly. Yes, I'm sorry. I actually speak fluently. I just wanted to test you. Turns out, he had lived in Beijing for several years, working for an international company. He spoke Mandarin every day. Then why? I demanded. Why the whole act? He leaned back and explained, I'm planning to launch my own YouTube channel about learning languages. I wanted to see how teachers handle absolute beginners. The confusion, the fear, the first steps. I thought the best way was to pretend to be one. And I also wanted to see if you'd catch me. His logic made sense, but at that moment I felt played. I had just spent an entire hour teaching ni hao to someone who could probably quote Confucius. So I decided to get even. I smiled sweetly. All right, since you're so advanced, let's move to Tang Dynasty poetry. His eyes widened. What? Right now? Yes, right now. Start reciting. And that's when his confidence cracked. He stumbled. Misread characters, mixed up tones. Within 20 minutes, sweat was dripping down his forehead. His perfect fluency didn't help with classical Chinese. Finally, I leaned back and said, Now we're even. He burst out laughing. And in that moment, we both knew this lesson would stick with us forever. A week later, he showed up again. But this time, he wasn't holding a notebook. He had a camera. He asked if he could record an interview for his new channel. He wanted to share how I had caught him, and how I had challenged him harder than anyone else ever had. I agreed. The video blew up, tens of thousands of views. Comments from language learners around the world. People loved the story of the teacher who caught the fake beginner. And soon, new students started reaching out, people who had found me through his channel. Now, whenever someone tells me they're a complete beginner, I can't help but joke. You didn't happen to live in China for a few years, did you? Everyone laughs. But I never forget that people aren't always what they seem. And the lesson I took from that day? Even if someone tries to fool you, sometimes the experience turns into the most unforgettable story of your career.